Hey guys, it's Cam here. Welcome back to the Build Room. In this week's episode, it's all about getting Doofa now here, ready for Toyotas in the Park 2023. So we've got some body work to do, we've got some modifications to make, we've got some reassembly, and then as a little added bonus, I'm going to show you what the final livery of this thing is going to look like when we get it painted. So stick around and check it out. All right, so what's going on for today? In the last episode, we managed to get this bonnet looking sweet. This guard was also awesome. That guard, not so much. It's had a little bit of a hit on the front end, so that was a little bit of a disappointment. But on the upside, this guard is actually pretty good with just an area here that needs to be repaired. That's quite a big dent. And a pitted area here, which also needs a little bit of work. I'm actually considering breaking out the planishing hammer for this, so maybe that's a fun thing you'll get to see today. We also did a fairly big couple of repairs on this door. We replaced a panel there, we replaced the top edge, and we also put that brush finish on this. Now, give me your opinion on this, guys, because this is what I'm planning to do for the visible metal on the new paint scheme, which, like I said, I'm going to show you at the end of the episode. But yeah, this is pretty key to its success. So yeah, love it or hate it, tell me below. I've still got to do this repair over here. I cut a piece of metal for this, but just didn't get around to it, just ran out of time. And when I was welding this up, this area here on the top, that was actually really hard to weld. It kept blowing through on this metal, and I figured it was just sort of maybe corroded at the back or something. But looking at it today in a better mindset, this is bowed out as well. I actually think someone's replaced a piece of panel there, probably where it rusted because of a side mirror or something like that. So I may also cut that section out and put in a new piece of metal myself. I don't have an existing piece on one of these garbage doors, so we'll probably have to fabricate that by hand. But yeah, what I hope is a few interesting repairs there. And then we need to think about the other door. So this one, a couple of things, obviously pretty garbage across the top. Other than that, there's holes in the fender where the side mirrors go. I'm gonna fill those because those two there, they have a thread inside them. They're for the original mirrors. I'm not putting original mirrors back on this. I don't really like them. And the sports mirrors that you get, or that I've got for this, they end up with the mirror back about here. And it's just too far back when you're driving. You just really can't get a good enough view of the road. So they need to be moved forward probably to about there. And they should look much better and function a lot better too. And then we've got this area here, which, you know, I've repaired this and it's not bad. You know, you could paint this would be fine. But this is one of the areas that I want bare metal, so it's got to go. I will probably grind out the bog here just so I can see how bad that was, because if it isn't bad and I can fix it with the dent puller or something like that, I may actually give that a shot. And then after that, there's a lot of cleanup and a lot of assembly, and there's a few modifications that I want to do. So I won't be revealing what this is going to look like for Toyotas in the Park in this episode because I don't want to spoil it for the people that'll actually be down there. But as a consolation, like I said, I'm going to show you the livery for what we're going to build this into, which I think is probably more exciting anyway, because if I could do that by Toyotas in the Park, I would be doing that. So we'll have an interim livery for the day, and then as soon as we're done with Toyotas in the Park, we'll bring this bad boy back, strip it back down, and start throwing around etch primer and making sure that the things that we need protected are. So let's just get into the bodywork and see where the episode leads us. All right, so this is the old panel we made in the last episode. Just cut it out of the old door. We're just making sure we got a border around it so we don't have to reshape that edge. Cutting and cutting and cutting. There's a lot of cutting and grinding in this episode. Getting through that door to pull that panel out, and you know, it's the back side shows you how much rust creep you get through these things. Inside it doesn't look any better. A lot of bog. Just gonna wire brush that out as much as I can. Can't go too crazy with this. So yeah, just get it cleaned out. And then I've got to find a patch panel. So cut that out of the old door. It needed a patch as well, but for now we'll trim it up, make sure we can get it into the place that we need to. And then I'll have a crack at just patching it up with a small piece of new steel. The good thing about welding on the edges here is it doesn't stand much chance of warping, so you can go crazy. Grind it all back. And then obviously we need to make sure this is going to be protected, being new metal going in, so copper primer everywhere, and then start tacking that bad boy in too. These are pretty decent magnet clamps for holding stuff in. They're pretty good, but they do pick up a lot of grinding dust. You want to make sure you really move them right out of the way when you're grinding back welds, otherwise they just get very metal fuzzy. Yeah, a lot of clamping here, welding, just trying to keep things as straight as possible. Once you get the plates welded in, you put that structure back in. If it's not straight, then a lot of work. This is my chonk Steven Seagal look, but we get the panel done in ground, then we've got to protect this as well. So once again, more copper primer because the sheet on top will put a lot of heat in, and some satin black away from the hot bits. Throw the replacement panel back on the top, get it all nice and lined up, watch the gaps, and then it's time to start tacking this one in. And this tacking went really quite well. The gap near my thumb now is a little big, certainly bigger than I would like, but yeah, not too bad. It was difficult to tack on these bottom areas though. The metal around here obviously had a lot of contaminants in it, which meant it was trying to, you know, weld in a porous manner, a lot of spatter and stuff like that, just, you know, nasty to weld, pain in the butt stuff. But, you know, get through it, just keep persevering, and pretty soon you got something that you can grind back the welds on and start filling in the tack gaps. Now I did this basically one tack at a time all the way around the panel, and then I cooled the whole panel with compressed air, and I went round and around and around with that one until we got something looking like this. And even though it looks pretty good on camera at the moment, there's a big divot up the top and there's a hump all through the main panel. But there wasn't really much I could do about it, so I just had to grind it down and then basically see what we were left with, which is this. All right, so we're welded in and ground back, and that is pretty much an unmitigated disaster. So it came out okay here. This wasn't too bad, but as I moved in doing the welding, I think I might have had the welder up a little bit too high, and what we ended up with was a very big low spot here, really a nice divot, and a low spot all the way through here. So this at the moment is the right height on that side and the right height on this side, and then just where the joint is, it kind of drops down into a valley on either side. So I'm just not sure what happened there. Either I put too much heat into it and it just sort of sunk, or maybe when I cut it, the inside lip dropped down, and then we ended up welding this one into it to match, and I don't know. I really don't understand this one. I did almost the same process. All I did was turn the welder up a little bit higher, and that was so that I could just do single tacks quickly and put less heat in, and I seemed to have less heat. There was less discoloration around the weld. And I also, rather than spot welding a centimeter at a time, I just did one all the way along, cooled the whole panel with compressed air, let it cool down, and then went around again. So, you know, I feel like this had less heat in it than this side, but we just didn't get the same result. So yeah, I'm scratching my head on this one. If anyone out there's got any tips, please let me know. I clearly need them. I even went so far as to get this thing lower to the ground, and then I brought out the spot welding dent puller, and you can see there's some dots there. They're from areas where I've lifted this up. So, you know, it's back to what I would consider fine to just sort of put a skimmer bog over and move on with your life. But it's not exactly where I'd like it to be for this to be a bare metal showcase. But yeah, it kind of sucks. Realistically, I cannot get into the back of this. The impact protection starts about there and ends about there, all the way along. So none of this can be reached from the backside. So that's why the spot welding dent puller was my really only solution here, and it is what it is. We are gonna have to move on though. I just don't have any more time for it. And to be honest, in the final livery, this would be covered anyway. So this would get a skimmer bog and some nice high fill primer and block back quite nicely. So no big deal. Same with this one really, no big deal there. Anyway, one thing that has shown up is my 120 grit flap discs for the burnisher. So as much as this is horrible, I'm going to run over it with the burnisher and just see how much it highlights or hides some of this damage, and whether or not we can get an even color. Because at the moment you can see this is darker than this, but on the same panel, we should be able to get it to roughly the same color and the same refraction of light. So yeah, let's throw some 120 grit on here and just see how we go. Now we're just gonna start off very lightly. I don't want to chew through this panel. Well, mixed feelings on this one, guys. The difference between this and the Scotch-Brite is not that great. This was a lot more forgiving, firstly. This one you can see there's some stripes. This one I was moving mostly this way. And this one I had to move forward and backwards. Otherwise, if you saw at the start, I was leaving big gouges through here. So, I mean, it's not gouged, it's just a surface profile. I mean, I like the look. I just need it to be consistent in order for this to be worthwhile, because if it is stripy and horrible like this, then what's the point? This area here is not too bad. I could probably live with that. It didn't do anything on the dents. It just made them look worse, to be honest. Look how bad that looks. All right, but again, you know, I'd be happy with some bog on it. Long term, if I was doing the proper restoration of this, that skin would be coming off and that would be planished out. But anyway, we have to move on. We can't keep going over and over on this stuff and trying to get it perfect for the show. It's just not gonna happen. And if we spend too much time here, we're not gonna do the rest of it. So we have brought out our friend, the planishing hammer. And I'm gonna try it on that guard there. Again, just to see how we go. So the big divot section in the middle here, so that is a very hard line. I could tap that out, you know, with a hammer and dolly, but in the interest of speed, which is what today is all about, I'm gonna run it through the planishing hammer and just try it out. It's not the worst case in the world if it doesn't work. It's not gonna mangle the panel or anything. Worst case scenario, we might stretch the metal here through a little bit and it'll actually be raised up more than it is in these sections here. But half of the Celicas on the road look like that, so I'm not exactly worried, and it shouldn't be that noticeable. If that works, I'll also just cut the, or grind the filler out of this, and I'll also run the planisher around there just to see if we can flatten that out. All right, the hard thing's gonna be getting it in here. Drop this right down. Really a two-person gig. All right, I think we might be okay there. Unbelievably. Balance your panel on the head, they said. Hang on. I need to weigh down the actual unit. All right, see how that goes. All right, that's it raw, which doesn't look too bad. It's definitely took the main section out. It's not perfectly flat, but it's not bad. The main thing I couldn't get is there's a small dent on this side. So it's got a little bit of a valley here. The head of the planishing hammer just wasn't able to get close enough there. So I might see if I can hammer and dolly that piece out, and then we'll give this a sand and we'll see how it looks. All right, and you know what? That was pretty successful. For, you know, roughly 10 minutes of work between the planishing hammer, hammer and dollying, and then a little bit of sanding. I think that's reasonable. It's not perfect, obviously, and I'm just never gonna get my skills in the next 48 hours to the point where these are gonna be perfect. I could run through and try and, you know, take this bit out and this bit out and things like that. And, you know, I think it's just a factor of time at this point. You just have to spend a lot of time into getting all of these little pieces out in order for it to look good. The panel's too thin to really do any decent sanding or anything on it to take material off to flatten that out. You have to flatten it with a hammer and dolly. So, you know, I'm not upset with that. That looks reasonable. Happy with that to move forward. I don't think I will bother trying to hammer and dolly that section out because it's going to be accompanied with this anyway. So for now, what I'd rather do is spend some time and get a patch panel in here and a patch panel in here. I'm not sure how I will make this. I could try and make it all in one, but that seems a little bit difficult for the time that we've got. So I might just put a patch panel in here and then bend something into shape for this bit. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter. Again, this is one of the areas that will be painted regardless of what happens with the livery. So, you know, we just need to get this structurally sound, not nice, flat, shiny sheet metal. So yeah, let's get into that. And then if I have some time, maybe I'll come back to this, but it's not critical. Alright, so on this one, I decided to try and make the patch panels in one piece. So yeah, put a bend, just bent it in the vise, nothing special. Trimmed it out so I was replacing as little of the panel as possible. A little bit of dolly work just to try and get the gap right in the curve. You know, not enough there obviously, but a little bit more time on the dolly. And you know, we get something that's fairly reasonable. So trying to cut out as little as possible as per usual. And then when grinding through these, I had to be really careful because obviously you've got that second skin behind it, so you don't want to destroy that reinforcing panel because it does basically keeps the structure of the guard. So you chop that up and the guard's going to be wavy and move everywhere, even once it's bolted onto the car. Clean everything up with a wire brush again, a bit of rust converter, actually a lot of rust converter on this one, and then copper paint on everything, get the panel in place, and then start the tacking process again. So, you know, this one wasn't too bad. It wasn't 100% shaped the right way, so it did take a little bit of clamping, but not a huge amount. I mean, that panel is so thin you could clamp, you know, a centimetre difference in size of panels without too much problem, except for the fact that when you weld them and you heat them up, that tension that they're under with the clamping is going to result in them moving around and warping the panels. So you really don't want to do that. The idea is, you know, clamp to keep panels together like I am here, but not through huge variances. You're better off to pull the panel out and then have another crack at tapping it into place and then tack it up. Trying to really be disciplined on this one after what happened in the last one in terms of cooling tacks. They're not really evenly spaced or anything, but then I basically just got comfy and ran through it. Like I said, trying to be a lot more careful on this one, so sort of doing 4 to 5 tacks and then get out the air duster and really cool the panel down completely. I've got one glove off so that I can put my bare hand on the metal and make sure that it is cool before I start tacking the next round. And to be honest, it didn't go too badly. Really didn't feel like there was a lot of movement there. So yeah, now time to bust out the grinder again. I'm using a 40 grit flat disc on this. It takes off a lot of material, but again, be careful of heat. You can warp them when you're grinding them. So yeah, that panel looks pretty good. There was a little bit of warpage just on this corner, and there's a couple of bits that I just need to neaten up. A few little gaps and holes and things like that just needed some tidying up. At some point I'd like to probably fabricate the entire panel from sort of where the clamp is down and just see how hard that is to do and how neatly it welds in, because this isn't ideal, but you know, sand it back now and you can sort of see that at the end of the day it's not that bad and a little skim of bog, and we are probably good to go on this one. Obviously down the other end of that panel there's a lot more holes I need to fill. To do that we might as well grab the other panel which is on the car. Alright, so we've got the two panels set up ready to go. This one, this is the better of the two, this is the cherry one. A little bit of rust in here, but I'm going to take out quite a large section just so I'm not concentrating too much heat. Also need to close up this dot down the end, and for that I'm just going to use this thing, which is basically a copper pad that attaches with a magnet on the other side, but we'll show you on the top, just like that. And what that's going to do is give me a backer so that I can weld this up without needing to cut it out and weld a plate in. That was basically being knocked into a divot so that the bog would actually stick into the hole. So I've just hammered and dollied it flat and we're good to go there. And then this one, obviously we just put a patch panel in here. This is pretty good. These marks at the top, that's actually from hammering it on the bench vise. So I probably want to try and bend it the other way next time. Similarly, this one's got the same dents in it at the top. You can see them there. So expect those to come through in the final product. But yeah, a fair amount of rust under there. So we're just putting this bad boy in its place. No need to go through that again. You've seen enough patches for today. So we'll just go. All right, so here we go. These are reversed now, but this one was the one that we put the patch here and we've added a patch in. It looks pretty good. Quite happy with this. It's not, you know, 100% smooth, but it is reasonable. I also went through and just neatened up this area here. So I took out this dent here And this I smoothed out, ground back, and just tied it up so it looks a little bit neater. I did weld a section through here as well that basically from this split. So welded it in, ground it back flat, and it looks, you know, like an 8 out of 10 now, so I'm okay with that. This one, this was the cherry guard, and we welded in quite a large piece there. Cut the old piece out and cut a large piece out so that we could get it nicely cleaned up. Made sure everything was copper primed and put a new piece in. This one, I actually tried something different on this one, and I've got less warping here than I do on either of these. For this one, rather than doing the single tack, single tack, single tack, single tack, I tacked it all in like that. But then when I went to fill in the sections, I tacked that centimetre at a time again, and then let it cool significantly in between. The reason I did that is tacking sort of a centimetre to a centimetre and a half at a time, you put a lot of heat in on the first tack, but then the subsequent ones, because you've already got warmth in the panel, it's just a light tack with good penetration. So 5 tacks in a row to do a centimetre puts a lot less heat in the panel than 5 single tacks all the way around. So look, it felt a bit faster. It's come out a little bit better. You know, it's still not perfect, but certainly a good enough repair. It's gonna last a long time. I also went through on the back of both fenders and just clean these up with the grinder, etch prime them, and put a coat of satin black down just to make sure these are protected while they're on the car. So yeah, I would say a big success on both of these fenders. Really happy with the way they came out. We'll pause here for a sec. I need to get this place cleaned up, get the car back in and get these mounted up, and then we'll take it from there. All right, so we're back, and this thing looks a lot more like a car. In fact, it's looking pretty damn good. This bonnet is awesome, and so are the guards. All of the panels are back on and fitted up. I do have to do the bottom of the fenders. I haven't bolted them up yet, but I will do that later. The panel gaps and things like that are not great, but they're not bad either, and I don't want to waste a bunch of time fitting these things up properly, because right now it is, what, 9:11 on Friday night. It means realistically we've only got about a day, and I still have to edit this video for you guys. So the target for tonight then is just going to be to get this thing back together. I've got to get the front vent and the wipers back in, got to get the sail vents on, and then inside the car, looks like absolute garbage. All the interior's out because, of course, to get those off, you've got to strip the whole back interior, and I was going to pull the doors so all the trims came off those as well. So we've got a bit of work to do here. It's very difficult to film for you guys in the cabin, so we're probably just going to skip through that and I'll show you guys what it looks like at the end. Another complication, I don't know if you guys can hear it, it's just starting to spit rain at the moment. If it ends up raining on Sunday, I'm not taking this out. There's no way I'm going to risk getting this wet again. So this video is going to go up tomorrow morning. Between tomorrow morning and Sunday morning, everyone keep your fingers crossed for me. So yeah, just a case of reassembling now. And then of course, obviously, I'm gonna show you guys what the full paint job will look like as well. So yeah, so let's just fast forward through this interior. We'll just go, all right, we're back. First things first, I put the rest of the engine bay back together. I forgot about that. So yeah, washer bottles are in and all that sort of thing, which is good. Got the sail vents on. They are now satin black or matte black with the chrome. Previously, they were the same color as the tail lights, which is like a gray. Not really happy with that. So now these have a lot more contrast. I think they look a lot better. And the interior is in. It's not clean yet, but everything's in. The only thing I didn't get to do was I traced the source of my lighting issues. And I think what's happened is rust converter has dribbled down the cable into this and it's corroded the whole thing. So that's locked up. I had to smash the globe. Hopefully that will come out. It's got penetrating in it at the moment. So that will have to wait till morning. But other than that, it's all pretty much together. Oh, and the other thing is just the fuel cap. I haven't put that together because I've got to sand that back to get rid of that finish. And I don't want to do that right now when I'll wake up all the neighbors. So yeah, this is probably where I'm going to call it for the evening. Anything else that I need to do on this is going to start creating a lot of noise. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with where we've got to. I mean, even if tomorrow was a complete write-off and I got nothing done, I would be more than happy just to clean this up and drive it down as is and just hang out for the day. So yeah, we're on track to do something. Now, in terms of the livery, there's a couple of things. So I wanted something that would be impactful. The whole idea is the car is going to hopefully attract some attention, promote the channel, yada, yada, yada. I didn't want to go overboard trying to build a show car. The bottom line is this is Doofa now. It's supposed to be a bunch of fun without going to the extremes in terms of effort. So I started trawling online and I looked for something that was period correct and a little bit racy and a little bit fun. And this is what I found. So that is a pace car from, I think from the late 70s or early 80s. Obviously that one's an RA29, so it has hideously ugly safety bumpers, but it has flares and it has cool graphics and there's a little bit going on. There's a lot of stuff I didn't like about that though, so I feel like a lot of the graphics don't really flow with the body lines. So in order to figure out what I wanted to do, I broke out the Crayolas and the safety scissors and actually started some old school paper design work. So let's have a look at these. All right, so this was the initial sketch. It just moves a lot of the colored lines around the bonnet and over the back to follow the front body lines and then stream out and follow the boot at the back. And the side lines now follow the rear arch curve and also come down a little bit less aggressively. Instead of going forward and then back like a Z, they just flow straight down. That was a good start, and then I decided to refine it a little bit more and we went to this one. Now in this one, I swapped the colors around. I preferred having the yellow on the outside. I put the TBR logo in the 3 colors. We swooped these sidelines forward and we expanded the colors on the sides just to cover the edges of the hatch so that I could paint the whole hatch rather than having to leave bare metal on either side. The gray areas that you see here are intended to be that brushed metal. That's provided we can pull that off. And then all of the other areas are just flat black. All of these colors are designed to be just flat colors. I don't want any metallics or anything on this thing other than brushed metal if we can get it. So from here, one more iteration. This one, very similar. I started to bring out the color at the front a bit more, follow that all the way down through the roof just to get a little bit more color. And then at the back, I brought it all back into the middle so that from the rear, it would look good. I also made the logo white. Colors on the side here, I made them a little bit bigger. That was to cover the damage that's here on the door. But I think, you know, when we go to do this, I'll probably just call an audible and see how we go. While I was doing that, Kelly got on board and she did a design of her own. So she did a much smoother curve going up over the wheels and then sort of, I don't know, flicking out like a flame tail. She did the same at the rear of the hatch there and then expanded out the yellow a lot more at the top. This was a solution from her because the front of the other bonnet was so damaged. This was a good way to be able to fill it and hide it. Yeah, there's some elements from here that I like, but obviously with the new bonnet, we don't need to go this far color-wise, which led us into version 4. And this pretty much represents what we're going for. You notice I bring the yellow out to cover the vents at the front. That's because they're a pain to get back to bare metal. So I figured painting them would look a lot better. Again, thicker stripes across the roof just to get more color so it wasn't just all black. Really broke out these colors evenly along the back so there's minimal black. And then I actually colored in the back as well. So you can see looking at the rear of the car how much color you would actually see on that. And we also bring in the side stripes on the rear too. So that's probably the closest render that we've got here. I was pretty happy with that, but I am gonna change the bonnet logo to white. Then I thought, you know what? I'm pretty happy with this, so don't keep iterating, try some different things. So this was one where I took the more swoopy colors from Kelly's render and I put them on the door. I wasn't sure about this to start with, but I actually quite like it. It feels like there's a sort of a road, a rainbow road driving off into the distance, which I think is pretty cool. And again, rather than blocking out the colors at the back, I just flared them out like Kelly had done on her render and more yellow out on the bonnet again. I like this, but I'm not in love with it. So I'm probably gonna stick to render 4. And then in my final render, just did the same as number 4, but I thought, let's try some different colors and see how it looks. Not super happy with the blue. I personally like blue. A lot of my cars have been blue, but I think in this instance for the race look, the yellow, red, and orange is the better pick. I think the paint job's gonna be pretty challenging because you have a limit of time between when you put your first coat of base coat down and then when you put your clear over the top at the end. And that's about a 24-hour window. But every time you lay down a color over another one, you've got to wait so that it dries enough to tape over it, and then you can paint. And then you can start that whole process again. And it's about 4 hours or so between coats to let it dry enough. So when you've got sort of 4, 5, 6 layers, you're getting really close to that 24-hour period. So it will be a challenge. It should be fun. I'm hoping it's gonna look really good. So yeah, that is about it for today's episode. It is very late. It's 2:30 in the morning. I'm gonna finish editing this episode and get it out for you guys sometime soon. And then you guys can watch that while I finish prepping the car for Todas in the Park. Now, if you're in Perth and you've got some time on Sunday, Todas in the Park, Sir James Mitchell Park in South Perth from 10 a.m. I think it is, opening at 8 if you are bringing your own car. So yeah, come on down, check out the car, say hi. I'll have some stubby holders and stickers and stuff like that. So if you do watch the show, let me know and I'll delve into the backpack and give you one of those. Other than that, it's just closing out with the normal stuff, which is I'm gonna put the full Violet Crumble series up here at the top, and then we'll put some other content down there. Other than that, I just wanna say thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on The Build Room. Bye for now.